Hello, this is a Bluthner Style 7 grand piano made in 1905, 6 foot 3 inches long, and it's just come into stock, so I'm assessing it to see what sort of work might need doing on it. Now, first of all, it's got a particularly attractive rosewood case, as is very common with Bluthners of this age. Let's look at the top lid. There is a slight fading, as you can see there. This is on this corner only. The rest of it seems to be absolutely perfect, so I think we probably would leave that, and obviously the piano will be slightly less expensive because we're not French polishing it ourselves. This is Bluthners polishing. It's quite unique to Bluthners really. There's a beautiful silky finish to it, slightly open pore as you can see here, but very effective, and I'm very fond of the way they finish pianos off. Down the side here you can see how beautiful the rosewood veneer is. We'll have a look at the other side too. And this is the long side of the piano. Again, very decorative rosewood veneer. So I don't think there's anything better than, piano-wise in my opinion, than Bluthners rosewood. Steinway also do an excellent rosewood that's very similar. And it's had replacement key tops. These are very, very well done by Bluthners themselves. Restored by them in 2005 apparently. There's a lot of history to this piano they've got, but I want to concentrate mainly on the fine regulation and things that we're going to do ourselves. Firstly, as we said on many other videos, it's really important to check the tightness of the tuning pins. This has had a new rest plank, so you'd expect them to be tight, and especially as Blutner's done it as well. And they're nice small tuning pins. Some restorers, when they put new rest planks on, put tuning pins on that are larger, and really there's no need for that. This is a new multi-laminate rest plank, probably made by Delignit. Certainly today it would be 2005, I think, probably as well. Blutner's first choice normally in rest planks, and you can also see the Delignit rest plank tends to be a bit patchy underneath like that, and that's another indication. If you can't see the laminates on it, then that's a sign that it's a Delignit plank as well. Also, they've replaced the damper tray because they've actually replaced the original patent action with the roller action, and they've also replaced the damper tray too, which you have to do if you do that. And they put these spoons on for adjustment. I like those very much. It's very useful to have those to fine adjustment. So as extremely high quality work's been done on this. So in 2005 it's had a brand new Schwander action fitted. Probably made in England, this action, parts of it may be made in Germany too. And Schwander's a tremendously good firm. And you can see there's got arbel hammers on here, and the whole action is new. If you want to see videos on patent action, we've got some of those too. I'm sorry I haven't got a patent action Bluthner alongside this one, otherwise I'd show you. Now what I particularly want to concentrate on is the fine regulation, because there is fine regulation to do. So if we just have a look at the C there, if we compare it to the B, I have fine regulated the C. Basically adjusted this because it wasn't playing as finely as it could have been, especially for soft playing. So that's been taken up a bit, and also that's called the let off or set off, and also this screw here, which is the drop screw, has also been taken up a bit. So if we watch it now, if I press, this is pressing B and C together with my finger here, we'll be able to see when the hammer sets off. So if we look at it now, going up very slowly together, you'll see that B sets off before C, if I can get it right. There we are, and C sets off later, and that makes is really fine regulation, makes it nicer to play softly. And the other thing which we've done is to adjust the screw. I'll just show you how those are adjusted. Now, we previously set the key dip to 11mm, which is my preferred key dip. It gives it a nice aftertouch. Now, by adjusting the capstans, we've also set this the hammer blow distance, the distance the hammer to the strings, at about 47. It's not always going to be that on all pianos, but about 47mm. Having regulated those, then we regulate the set off or let off to get as close as possible really. 16th is probably a bit optimistic. We'll look at it when it's in the piano. You won't be able to see too well on the video, unfortunately. And then last of all, the drop screw, slightly lower. You might notice some chalk here. I noticed that the action needed was just slightly resisting, and you could almost hear a slight squeak. So we put some actually we haven't put chalk on this, we've put Teflon powder. We either use talc, which is French chalk, or Teflon powder, and it goes here, like in new pianos. You will find this on all new pianos. Sorry, I've got the wrong keys up there. There we are. On all new pianos you'll find, although most new pianos, well-made ones, will have some Teflon powder or some talc here. Talc or Teflon powder. Renner prefer talc. Teflon powder is supplied by a lot of piano supply companies. There's a bit of a debate on that, but either I would say is fine, and then it's nice and smooth, which is important, and it won't squeak at all. What we also found is that the springs they weren't springing up when you released the back check by just lifting my finger slightly off the key. The back check, which is here, gets released. You can push the back check, but obviously lifting the key slightly, that releases it. And when that was released, we found that the spring wasn't going up, the hammer wasn't going up as it should do. It should go up really as fast as possible without it feeling in your fingers. Rise like the sun is what Renner would say to us, but I would like it slightly faster than that, because over the years it wears. So it's better to have it very slightly so it doesn't impede the touch. But that's C, and if we look at B, I think I did B as well actually, as I've done B too, but if you look at B flat here, you see it doesn't rise, it goes straight down. Release the back check, it goes straight down. Let's try this one again. So that's fine regulation. It makes all the difference if you want to play very softly. It's much nicer to play softly if it's very well regulated. So that's a Bluthner Style 7 grand piano made in 1905, which would normally have a patent action in. Until about 1925, most Bluthners had a patent action, in fact nearly all of them. And Bluthners have restored it completely in 2005 to a very high standard. There's plenty of other things I could say about this piano, but the most important thing is how does it feel? It's had a roller action put in it, and it feels beautiful. I'm very impressed with this piano. I've been playing it for a long time, and because I find it wonderfully inspiring. The very delicate sound of Bluthners it's different from the average piano. There's fans of Bluthner pianos because of their just silky smoothness. It's a quiet sort of sound, but you can get plenty of volume if you want to. The bass here, by the way, is really rich. Excellent bass strings. So the job's been very, very well done. And I could say many more things as I say about the piano, but in the end of the day, how does it feel and how does it sound? And to me, very impressive indeed. There's some fine regulation which I've tried to show you that we'd like to do to try and perfect it. Thank you very much for listening. Sorry, I've just made this postscript because as I was editing the video, I realised there's a couple of things on regulation as we were focusing on that I didn't really explain properly. One is the adjustment of this screw here. Now I have adjusted this one here, so as we release the check, the hammer goes up. But they all needed doing. So let's look at the one next to it, and as we press the key down, then we can see, by the way, it says 48 and 51 there. The hammers came out of a packet and it's 51 in the packet, but it's been put on number 48 key, which is quite normal. You just didn't started at a different place with the hammers, so I won't go on about that. But if you watch this one, it goes down, it doesn't spring up. So what we need to do is adjust this screw here. So just maybe a quarter of a turn. Let's see what happens. And then I'll just play it again. So just beginning to rise now, not really enough, so let's just adjust it a bit more. So that's another chord. Let's have a look now. That's much more positive. Let's compare that with the one next to it. Both are correct really. I like to have them a little bit tighter than they should ideally be, because over the years they'll drop down, perhaps over a 20-year period. It'll become exactly right. That one's less, isn't it? Rising perhaps about correctly, but I think I'd rather just put a bit more tension onto it so that it can wear over, say, a 20-year period. Let's have a bit more. Sorry, I can't concentrate. There we are. So minimal, really. Let's try it now. That's better. So coming up reasonably positively, try and get them all the same. That one's probably a little bit more than that one, so let's get that one exactly the same. And then we've got to do the same to all of them. You have to be patient if you're a piano technician and try and get the best possible results you can for the best experience for the pianist. So that was if you remember, the key dip, and then the height of the capstan underneath here, the height of the hammer to the string, the set off here, the drop screw, the spring, and this is something I've adjusted since, by the way. I don't know if you noticed before, the hammers were resting on the rail. If it's a patent Bluthner action, and by the way, patent Bluthner actions are excellent, there's no need to replace them, except slightly faster repetition on these more modern ones. And there should be a gap between the hammer and the rail there, so that it can take up some of the, basically it's a bit softer on the action if it's a bit lower down. So it should be, say, 4 millimeters there. But on a patent action, it should be sitting on it, otherwise it won't work properly. And last of all, we're going to watch these two hammers. This is B and C, and B sets off a bit before C. Not a lot in it, but if you're playing really softly, you certainly notice it. The closer you can get, the better. Here's a new euphoric grand, B and C again, and they're setting off. Really, if you can get a 16th away, that's amazing, but normally it's important that it performs properly. You don't want it to not work at all. That's the most important thing, is it does actually set off, but as close as possible. And going back to the Bluthner, the other thing is the spring. When you release the back check, it springs up ready to play again. This A here, spring hasn't been done, doesn't spring up when I release the back check. So obviously repetition is not going to be nearly as good as it would on the C when the spring's working properly.